I wanted to ask you, like, first, like, how did you get into producing music more than speakers? How did you actually get into writing tunes?
Well, it started the whole process when I was like really young, like 12, 13. Started, chopping up like tracks on Cool Edit or like really basic, old, like very simple program on PC. Just like I think we would do things like chop up like an Isley Brothers song and try and loop it and try and make a kind of hip hop beat or something, and then got into Cubase maybe when I was like 15, something like that, and that's what I've been using ever since. I still use it, and so it was just like a way for recording any ideas that I had. Myself and Alexis from Hot Chip started doing stuff together when we were like 16 years old or something. So kind of probably like a lot of bands, just obsessed with the idea of releasing music. The idea of putting out a 7-inch would be like a massive deal for us, and then kind of achieved that, and then you kind of move on and just keep going.
So like, how about now? Like, what, I guess there's two different things, obviously, with Hot Chip and the Two Bears. Like how do you actually produce music now? Like, what's your how do you work?
I still work on Cubase. Work in tons of different ways, probably like most people. There's lots of different routes to making tunes, aren't there? Like, you might start with the Voyager that's behind you, or the Quenchman synth, or got like a Wurlitzer in here, or might start with like the 808 or a 909, or quite often I just start by making a beat on the screen, using samples or whatever. Really use like the Arturia like Moog modular quite often to make drums and things like that, make little loops, then move on to some of the keyboards in here. Or actually with Two Bears, sometimes it starts with a sample that Raf brings of like an old record that we turn into a kind of house tune or whatever. It might be like a beginning of a song that he's written that we fit over a beat that I've made.
Do you both work in here when you're doing that, or does he have his own space?
No, Raf, like, Two Bears is the first time he's really produced music, and so he's kind of new to the whole thing. He comes up here and works, sits behind me and kind of tells me if the drums are right or if I need to like move hi-hats around.
He's never produced music, but is he a DJ? Like, I don't know the background.
Yeah, Raf's like been a DJ for a long time. And he's kind of done lots of different jobs in the business. He's been A&R for different artists. He's put out a lot of records, kind of been the boss of small dance labels. He's really like got a lot of experience in all those different areas. So
that's funny though, that he's come from a totally different angle.
Yeah.
But he can still, obviously, because he knows the music inside and out.
Yeah.
Will poke you to.
Yeah, totally. Like the swing of those drums is not right for this track or whatever. Really like in detail and in depth, and then I sit at the computer and do most of that stuff. We've been into a few different studios around London to kind of make tunes, and we mix. Sometimes we mix the tracks here quite often, but then for things on the record we took them to a guy called Ollie who works in the Music Box in Kentish Town, it's owned by Moloko. We'd mixed quite a lot of stuff there, and then also made stuff and mixed stuff at studio in Kilburn where our friend Mark has got Connie Plank's old recording desk, which is just a beautiful thing.
Some really history there, obviously.
Yeah, really amazing.
Good records that have been up.
Yeah, so many good records. So we sometimes finish things off in other places, but all the remixes we've done we're doing here, and
Do you work fairly quickly in this space? Like,
very quickly.
Are you spending a lot of time per tune, or is it what's kind of your limit? Kind of spend as much time as a tune needs, but I think the speed is really, really important. Like, and that's one of the things about having used Cubase for so long is like I'm really quick doing what I want to do with it.
like I've been thinking about switching to something else for a long time, but just that speed is really important to me, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
the length of time between having an idea and then having the idea, you know, noted down so you don't forget it. Like if that can be as quick as possible, then you know you're really free to be more creative.
Wicked. So obviously talking about the speakers a little bit, I mean, we've had these, well, they're 8250s for about almost a year now. Like, I mean, how have they been working out? Like, what?
Totally great. Like really, they've made a big difference to me. I mean, you know, mostly it's like a very simple thing. Like when Steve came and installed them and calibrated them for the room, took like 12 dB out of kind of bass frequency.
Yeah, there'll be a notch.
Yeah.
That you need to cut out.
Yeah, so I mean, just doing that, correcting the problems with the room, has just made an enormous difference. Like, I realised that I had been mixing stuff so bass light before that because the bass was coming from the room.
Yeah.
So I'd play out like a remix that we'd like even mixed and maybe had been released, and it just sounded really tinny, you know. I've found that you can trust and like rely on what you're hearing so much more since I've got them, and you know they're really detailed. Like you can really hear what you need to hear.
What you're doing basically.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, you're working quicker presumably because you actually
Totally.
hear the change. Like,
Yeah,
that's the key.
totally. Yeah. The decisions you make when you're EQing or whatever and doing a mix is just like so much easier. And yeah, for the bass thing was like a really big thing. Like now, the remixes that we're doing just sound a hell of a lot better because you can. I mean, you know, we're making dance music. The bass needs to be so solid, and like you have confidence in it. I think bass is kind of the thing that it's kind of difficult to get right for a lot of people to begin with. You know, the relationship between the kick and the bass line and getting that all just right. You need to have speakers that work in your room, you know, in order to do that properly.
Wicked.